Hey, what's up everyone? I'm the Burning Baron, but you can just call me the Baron. Second last stop on the Mario Kart ranking road trip is the Mario Kart. The omnipresent game that has been mentioned many times throughout these videos is finally in the spotlight. Thanks to having a lifespan that outlived its own debut console, Mario Kart 8 has been the talk of these lists due to how many tracks we've been partaking in for 10 years now. I've effectively covered all its retro tracks, but now it's time to cover the nitros. I'll try not to let the 10-year age get in the way, but with this game, and at this point, it's hard to make any promises. So yeah, if you've been here for the entirety of these rankings and you really enjoyed them, again, why not consider hitting that like button, maybe even subscribing? It would help me out a lot, and I would greatly appreciate it. But with all that out of the way, let's start with Mario Kart Stadium. It's the opener of the game. That's really like all that needs to be said, but when you have, like, obviously we gotta stack it to the other openers, and here's the thing. Mario Kart 8 does have one huge thing in its favor that age doesn't really kill, and that's its visuals and its expansive track designs. Looking at most other tracks, like the earlier you go, obviously, most of the tracks are just background and the immediate track itself. There's not really much beyond the boundaries of each track. Looking at something like Yoshi Circuit in GameCube, like there's the track and then there's nothing but water. SNES and GBA tracks have pre-rendered backgrounds that you never get any closer to. And even games like Mario Kart Wii don't have huge, expansive backgrounds. But Mario Kart 8 puts all of its effort into its visual appeal and its overall track designs. And no matter how old this game gets, it's impressive nonetheless. So Mario Kart Stadium, instead of being a typical opener circuit, is a circuit within a stadium, which definitely confuses me on the theming, but I'm gonna call it a stadium because stadium is in the name. Of course, you've got the huge crowds and stands all around the track. The inner track has pit stops and pit crews all over the place, making it really seem like a big sporting event as opposed to just a race, I guess. You could compare it to something like Cars. Or you don't have to do that, but I don't know, that's just the kind of vibe I was getting. But Mario Kart Stadium does do a decent job at being simple, but also effective at introducing the game's flashy new gimmick, anti-gravity. Having one large, giant sloping area that goes straight up and then straight down, it's very impressive. I think I should say that the use of anti-gravity will probably be a good ranking point in a lot of these tracks, because out of all Mario Kart's gimmicks, anti-gravity has to be the most interesting, without a doubt. It really opens up the floodgates for track designs. Mario Kart Stadium obviously keeps it very simple, and by opener standards, it's a really good track. Very lively, a lot to look at, so many points of interest, including the giant Mario statue in his cart, the overall stadium vibes, the good use of anti-gravity. Even the music is relatively decent. I wouldn't exactly call this top tier music, but it's definitely up there as a very solid Mario Kart 8 track. Of course, we're not going to let the age kill this one. It's an opener, and yes, anybody has been playing on this track for so long, especially if you play Mario Kart very frequently. And while all this praise would feel like it would rank very high, I really don't want to put it in the B or B minus, anywhere within that area, because anything B minus and up are tracks that I really enjoy. They're tracks I either enjoy or I feel like they do enough to earn it. And in spite of its strengths, like just again, compared to Luigi Circuit and Luigi Raceway, I just can't comfortably put Mario Kart Stadium any higher than C+, but that doesn't mean I'm not putting it into C+. I think, oh, where'd it go? My mouse unclicked. Where did Mario Kart Stadium go? Oh, great. How on... Oh, it just went right beside Water Park. Okay. Alright. Oof. Honestly, I feel like just behind GCN Mario Circuit, you can tell that a bit of my nostalgia kind of wins with some of these tracks. Like, Mario Kart Stadium is great, and it's, like, it does its job phenomenally well. But, again, when I look at Mario Circuit, I am reminded that maybe I'm actually not going to say I'm shafting it by putting in C+, but I'm constantly reminded that Mario Circuit is actually pretty decent, and I do very much enjoy it. Mario Kart Stadium does everything it needs to do perfectly well. Honestly, above average for most other tracks, but when I really think about it, Peach Circuit, Luigi Circuit, and Luigi Raceway, nostalgia plays a huge bit in those, but even in Peach Circuit's case, where Tour just made it look a lot better, I kind of have to put Mario Kart Stadium just below that. I would say, though, that it's definitely better than every other opener that we've gotten, assuming I can remember where I put all those openers. Oh yeah, wow, Figure 8 was lower than I thought. Anyway, let's move on to Water Park. Outside of having the blandest name in the game, seriously, they couldn't have called this one Aquatic Amusements? Wouldn't that have been so much cooler than just Water Park? Well, if the dumb name wasn't a dead giveaway, yes, it's a water park. But this ain't no water park I've ever seen on this planet. A roller coaster or a submarine coaster that goes underwater and up a giant loop, a giant Ferris wheel, a ride called Waluigi's Seabed, whatever the hell that is, and carousel cups underwater. I will say, I don't think half of these rides should be functioning underwater. Don't these take electricity to run? And doesn't electricity not merge well with water? I feel like there's a safety hazard in this park just waiting to happen. Aside from the questionable methods and the dumb name, Water Park is still a decent track. I love the giant loop-de-loop at the beginning. The underwater cup, the carousel cups are a really cool visual thing, flying past the Ferris wheel. Mario Kart 8 really does win with pretty much all of its details, but track designs are as average gets, really, especially for me. The track itself isn't hard, obviously, especially considering it's supposed to just be a Mushroom Cup course. The details definitely win it a lot. Music, I would not say wins it a lot for me. Don't care for the music that much. But the theming is 100% amazing, and all the rides look really cool, and interacting with them is pretty fun. I like the carousel shortcut where you can just jet past them, assuming you don't hit the carousel itself. But I think Water Park will also probably average out to be a C+ track. And honestly, I do kind of want to rank it above the Mario circuits. I think I'll put it just behind Peach Beach, though. Peach Beach's vacation theme kind of just beats out the kiddie water park of Water Park. But the details and the overall theming definitely are a step above the average Mario circuit. Alright, now onward to Sweet Sweet Canyon. I'm trying to keep these sections a little bit more brief because we have approximately 9 more tracks to cover than usual. It's surprising that we're... Well, no, it still outranks Super Mario Kart and Super Circuit. Anyway, getting off topic. Anyway, Sweet Sweet Canyon. If you have a sweet tooth and addiction to sugar, this is definitely not the place you should be. This course is entirely made out of snacks, candy, and treats, and once, like most tracks, that's probably going to be its biggest appeal. Its visuals. Racing along a cake road, up to a giant cake mountain, into a soda stream, along taffy roads, and hitting up the and racing past the wafer windmills. Oh gosh, that was a mouthful. I tried to say that too fast. And even the piranha plants have almost like a candy design to them, and I think that's really cool. There's the giant donut in the icing shortcut. There's icing off-road. The spectators are gingerbread men. There are lollipop trees. There's soda spurting out in the lake. It's honestly a really tasty looking track. And I feel like I've said this before, but I don't remember when, but if someone were to ever make a cake that looks like this track, I'd eat it. Oh, I'd struggle to eat it because it looks too good to eat, but I'd try. Of course, Mushroom Cup courses don't usually hit home with me. Most of them have some sort of exception going for them. Luigi Raceway is probably the highest. No, Calamari Desert, I think. Yeah, Calamari Desert's the highest ranking Mushroom Cup course I have. Which, well, checks out. In any case, Sweet Sweet Canyon's layout isn't all that hard either. And honestly, even just thinking about these layouts just makes me go, God, we've been playing these for so long, I'm so sick of this. But the reality is I'm not going to let that get in the way. Sweet Sweet Canyon's got some great shortcut opportunities. I love the underwater section, the small underwater section. Like, I think the overall theme is just the best. And I think for that reason, I kind of want to put this at the bottom of B-. When I really, really think about it, Sweet Sweet Canyon is a very, very creative looking track. We don't get a lot of food themed tracks, Cheeseland being the only notable one that I can think of among race tracks. Battle tracks, on the other hand, we've had Tart Top, which is another like snack themed course. But Sweet Sweet Canyon definitely does it the best out of all the candy themes that we've ever had. If that's even a lot. But it just loses out to Cheeseland because Cheeseland just, in its OG and its reappearance, just was phenomenal to race on. Alright, last cup of mushroom is Thwomp Ruins. I honestly would not say that this one's all that spectacular. The ruins are... It's a cool idea, but it doesn't feel like there's too much to look at. I love how a lot of the stone architecture around like the mountains and stuff are shaped like thwomps. But otherwise, this track doesn't have too much. The anti-gravity is hardly anything worth your time. It's either optionally going on walls, which just doesn't benefit you, or it's the end section, which is it's just slightly slanted. The anti-gravity was not strong on this course. Honestly, you could remove the anti-gravity and nothing would change. If anything, that means that this track is just prime material to bring back if you don't want to have the anti-gravity coming back. And to be frankly honest, I don't think I would support that because I don't really care for Thwomp Ruins all that much. Who knows, by the time I post this video, we could have already seen the new Mario Kart and whether or not retros will come back in that. But we'll see. Realistically, I don't have too much to say about Thwomp Ruins. It's never been one of my favorites. Everything is just average at best. And saying average at best is even that's just kind of stretching it. I think I'm going to put this in C-. And I'm going to put it... I'm going to put it bottom of C-. Like, the fact that even Ghost Valley 2 and Bowser Castle 1 are a little more interesting. Not interesting, even. I just care about those tracks slightly more. I never really have a huge opinion on Thwomp Ruins, so I think C- is kind of where I'm just going to have to bury this one. Oof. I needed that drink. I'm going to need this one. Anywho, Mario Circuit. Wii U Mario Circuit. I have to say that if I really wanted to be fair on this one, this has to be the best Mario Circuit in the franchise. Even ignoring my high ranking for Mario Circuit 3 and Mario Raceway, I think Wii U's Mario Circuit is the best Mario Circuit in the franchise. It has the best use, one of the best uses of anti-gravity in this entire game, which I think, well, first off, it's really great, but at the same time, this was the first track they showed off. Trailer, demo. I feel like they peaked the anti-gravity a little too soon, because I don't really think any other track does the anti-gravity better than Mario Circuit. I think the only tracks that can rival Mario Circuit's use of anti-gravity would be Dragon Driftway and maybe Mute City and Bowser's Castle. And maybe Big Blue. But otherwise, I don't think any other track really did anti-gravity as well as Mario Circuit did. And considering it's a Mario Circuit, that's impressive. It's a giant Mobius strip too, which also works very well with the anti-gravity and the theming of the game itself, as the 8 in the logo was also a Mobius strip, and Mario Circuit itself is modeled after the same idea, which is something my brain still cannot grasp the concept of. I cannot grasp the idea of a one-sided shape that's connected, that looks like a ring. Nope, can't do that. Nope, not talking about that. Talking about the fact that Mario Circuit is just a really good track in all things considered. Great Mario, great music, great anti-gravity, and to avoid talking about the Mobius strip crap, I'm gonna rank this one straight up into A rank, and I think it's gonna do it's gonna do it. I'm ranking this as the best Mario Circuit, ignoring Mario Circuit 3's blow to the position. I'm gonna put this one just above 3DS Bowser Castle, just behind Piranha Plant Slide. Piranha Plant Slide, I think, was just really, really good in Mario Kart 8, and 3DS Bowser's Castle is great by Bowser Castle standards, but I think Mario Circuit just inches it out because it's just phenomenal for a Mario Circuit. And I think it earns it. Moving on to Toad Harbor, I really, really enjoy this track for its simplicity and its theming. It's a nice, small little city on the lakeside, or seaside, I don't know. The trolleys act as almost like a traffic hazard. I wouldn't go as far as to say this is the traffic course of the game, but seeing as it's one of the only ones to have moving vehicles on it, I kind of have to. I kind of have to say that it is technically the traffic course. Which is funny that Toad's had a traffic course in 2 Flower Cups now. Anyway, Toad Harbor is definitely one of my favorite tracks in the game. It's got some of the best music, it's got one of the best themes. I absolutely love the rare opportunity when you go off a jump on the downhill section and you land on one of the trolleys and bounce off of it. That is so much fun. And while it's very uncommon that it even happens for me, the few times it does is just beyond hilarious. There's the Statue of Liberty parody with Princess Peach out in the water. There's the fruit stall or the marketplace just after the first turn on the starting area. You could jump over a boat. There's the anti-gravity section on the toy store, but this is one of the only tracks in the game where the anti-gravity is completely optional. And thus, it also makes Toad Harbor probably the best track to bring back if you don't want to bring back the anti-gravity with it. The only other Nitro course that I know of in the base game that also had optional anti-gravity is Bone Dry Dunes, but they're both not the only Nitro tracks, because DLC added at least 2 more with no anti-gravity at all, and at least 2 more with completely optional or useless anti-gravity. Anyway, I think if I want to be very, very generous, this is definitely ranking, this is no lower than A, but I think because, honestly, I think I want to do this simply because the Wii U is not going to be favorable in the long run to me. So I think it deserves a few extra S ranks. So I think I want to put this at the bottom of S. I think Toad Harbor is a phenomenal track in its theming and its music. It overall was one of the few tracks that just stood out to me in general. Because I'm going to be real, if you thought that my opinions in Mario Kart Wii and Mario Kart 7 were disappointing, this one's probably going to leave a lot of problems. Controversial is probably going to be an understatement by the time we reach the end of the Star Cup. So I think I'm going to put Toad Harbor in S, but at the very bottom, we'll see. Maybe it'll climb up a little higher later on. Alright, moving on to Twisted Mansion. Hilariously enough, the entire beginning of the Flower Cup were also the first 3 tracks ever shown, and thus they were at the various demos that they had shortly after they revealed this game. I don't believe I got to play Twisted Mansion because I did play the demo at a local Best Buy, but I think the line was so long that they had to limit how many tracks people could play, so they only got to play the first 2. So I didn't get to play Twisted Mansion, but I did get to play Mario Circuit and Toad Harbor. And yeah, all 3 of these went on, in order, went on to be in the Flower Cup. Twisted Mansion is the haunted track of the game. Definitely a step up from Luigi's Mansion, 100%. It's basically Luigi's Mansion, but better. Minus the Luigi's Mansion theming, because, you know, you can't get... Luigi's Mansion is an iconic mansion. Twisted Mansion is just a giant mansion that happens to be haunted. I love the anti-gravity use in this track as well. It's got a really twisty corridor that goes underwater, ends with a splitting gliding section over a courtyard that leads to what looks like a small library section before curving back to the starting line. Watch out for the possessed suits of armor, they will crush you. Otherwise, the opening with the anti-gravity going around the twisty dining room table and the small tiny library, that's the library. The library bit was after the dining room. The courtyard section led up to just a standard staircase hallway. There's a shortcut that leads right to the anti-gravity zone. Overall, like, Twisted Mansion's a pretty solid track. I can't believe I'm not talking about these so much, but that's probably because I've been playing them so much that at this point, if you've been playing them this much, I don't think I need to be the one saying anything. We've all known these tracks for so long. Twisted Mansion's an A-rank track, honestly. It's either that or it's a high B+. I honestly want to put it in A. I'm looking at all these and it's like I like them all a lot. I think I'm going to put it in A, but I'm going to put it just above Bowser Castle from DS. Because when I look at like Donut Plains and, well, Donut Plains 3, like these are all great tracks. But I think Twisted Mansion is one of the examples of tracks that the age has been slightly wearing on me. Like, there are going to be very notable examples of tracks that I just cannot grasp anymore because of how many times I've seen them. Most of them are retros. Royal Raceway is unfortunately the biggest offender for this because I swear every time I played random tracks on Versus, that one always showed up and it was so annoying. But I think Twisted Mansion's a solid A rank. Moving on to Shy Guy Falls. This one's interesting for its theming as well, for being a giant cliffside waterfall that you race up and down. I love the Shy Guy theme to this. As we all know, Shy Guys are among some of the best Mario enemies in the franchise. I think that warrants a strong Speaking of the noises, you can hear the Shy Guys make those noises with the music when you enter the final stretch of the course where they're mining in the cliff sides. And I absolutely love that little detail. And it's not the first place we hear it. We hear it elsewhere too, which is amazing. But I love the Shy Guy theme. I do love Shy Guy. Shy Guy Falls is... I do love racing up the waterfall. Pretty solid use of anti-gravity. Everything else about the track, though, I gotta say, it ain't the flashiest looking track. I think that's another thing where the visuals definitely work in some of these tracks' favor. I think it also works in reverse, that when you take some of the more standard ideas and apply the strong visual appeal, it actually doesn't help them. What is there to look at a cliffside? It's rocks and grass. And while the rocks and grass look better than anything the Booster Course Pass had to offer, it's still just rocks and grass. And trying to remain true to the theme means that it doesn't look that great. It doesn't look as flashy or as nice as other more unique themes. Think Water Park, think Sweet Sweet Canyon. Shy Guy Falls just basically has the same problem that Swamp Ruins has, except it's just got better theming with the giant waterfall and the Shy Guys. So that being said, as much as I like this track, I think this is a C+. I want to say somewhere around Woohoo. I think just after Woohoo Loop. And while I'm at it, I'm going to put DK Jungle into the C tier. It's average. I don't exactly know how I put it in C+. I don't know how I'm getting to the point where I'm forgetting how I rank these. But DK Jungle needs to step down. Shy Guy Falls is pretty good. Alright, Sunshine Airport. Another one of the more unique themes. This one's a lot. Well, no. I feel like it's not as much as it could be. It's a big airport, and that's really cool, but the race takes more outside on the runways with all the airplanes. You have to contend with a lot of the cargo and luggage that are on the track, which I will admit, it's a pretty hefty hazard to look out for. This track is a menace on 200cc for some of its really sharp turns. Not 200cc friendly, I can tell you that for free. The jumps into the airplane aren't friendly to the speed. The turns aren't friendly to the speed. You do get to glide alongside airplanes, which uniquely dim the sound around you thanks to the fact that airplanes are incredibly loud, and offers one of the weakest and dumbest anti-gravity sections in the entire game, just being a floating C-shaped platform in the sky that realistically does not need to be anti-gravity. This is another track that's really easy to bring back if you're deciding that gliding and anti-gravity, if gliding needs to be a thing and anti-gravity doesn't. That being said, the more I think about it, the theme in this track alone is the only thing that I really care about it. Everything else was pretty average. Age is 100% showing on this one as well. I think this used to be one of my stronger picks for the game, but the more I raced on it, the more I realized that it's not really all that great. I actually don't care for the music as much at all. The airport theme is about the only thing that it really has going for it. And Nintendo finally made a track based on an airport in the same game where you're allowed to lob bombs at people. You got to work on your subtlety on that one, Nintendo. In any case, I think this one's also a C+ track. The thing, I think I'm gonna rank it just above Shy Guy Falls because, like, Shy Guy Falls has the cool idea of racing up a waterfall and the Shy Guys, and Sunshine Airport has the airport theming. But I think both of these tracks could have been a little bit better in different areas. Alright, Dolphin Shoals, the primary water track of this game. I happen to notice a very strong theming and similarities between Mario Kart 7's Star Cup and Mario Kart 8's Star Cup. The very first track, well, I wouldn't say Piranha Plant Slide and Sunshine Airport share that much in common, but Wario Shipyard and Dolphin Shoals are both primarily water-themed. In fact, they have the most underwater driving in the entire game. I'll draw the rest of the connections later. Dolphin Shoals takes place almost entirely underwater. You dive under, you swim alongside some dolphins, jump through some hoops, and then go to a giant underwater cavern with warp pipes shooting air out to blow you into different areas so that you don't just fall immediately. There's a giant eel that you can do a lot of tricks off of. You exit out to this huge whirlpool section on an anti-gravity, and then you glide right back to the beach area itself. I have to say that among water tracks, this is definitely one of the more visually appealing ones. I don't care for the music that much. It's catchy, but I don't really care for it that much. I also don't like how inconsistent it was. It has an underwater version and an above water version, but the underwater version plays throughout every bit until you reach the very end. And then the outside version plays when you're in the whirlpool area. But then for some reason, the final lap version is just the normal version itself. And the normal version itself is treated as the main version, despite the fact that the underwater version plays first, and for a great majority of the track, the music pisses me off more than it doesn't. So I think that's a petty thing, but those confusing details do not sit right with me. I think this one's gonna be C. I'll rank it at the top of C, because at the end of the day, it's really good. It's a good underwater track, and I think it's above average, but especially when compared to Wario Shipyard, or even other beaches, This one more focuses on the underwater life than it does the beach theme, which I guess works in its favor. There's also the giant dolphin rock formations. I forgot to mention those, if those even are worth mentioning. But again, cool details, but has never been one of my favorites. Speaking of one of my favorites, though, let's talk about Electrodrome. This has got to be one of the best tracks in the game for me. Like theming alone sells it. Music sold it to me the moment I heard it. This track's debut trailer is one of my favorite video game trailers to date. The music is phenomenal. The theming is extra. Like, they went the extra mile with the theming on this one. I absolutely love the neon nightclub style that this track brings. The anti-gravity is phenomenal. The visuals are phenomenal. So many neon lights. I think the track might have been a little too purple for my taste. I love it, but I feel like they could have added a few more colorful details here and there. It felt like a lot of this track really leaned on the purple color, and I love purple, it's a good color, but a few more lights in like a bright blue, yellow, and red could have been used. Maybe even some orange, especially some orange. We got a lot of green, pink, and purple, not a lot of every other color. But I'm not going to let that really stand in my way to rank this one really high. There's the comparison on this one. Electrodrome and Neo Bowser City are both my favorite tracks in their respective games, and they both happen to occupy the third slot of the Star Cup. Yeah, like, honestly, I felt this was like, much like Neo Bowser City, this was my go-to track the moment I saw it. I knew it was going to be my favorite when I saw it, so yeah. Like, there's a giant disco ball with the Mario Kart logo. The TV screen has a big rave party with Larry being the disc jockey. You can't really tell because it's more of a silhouette, but I think the silhouette makes it pretty clear that it's Larry, because who else has a mohawk that size? Who's that size? No, we're not looking at Lemmy. He's not that big, and his mohawk is distinctly different than Larry's. Love the musical theme this one has. The piranha plants bop their heads. The music changes when you're on the anti-gravity section. Pretty easy to say that this one's hitting the S. Not B+, nah, S. Ranking this one just below Neo Bowser City. Again, like I was saying last time, these three Rainbow Roads are tag teaming the entire S tier. But Electrodrome would naturally rank above N64 Rainbow Road and 3DS Rainbow Road. But these three are cheating. But yeah, this one's technically my fourth favorite track of all time. And 100% gonna keep it there because this track's got the best theme in the entire game. Alright, time for my most controversial spot in this entire series. Mount Wario. I have made this one clear. I don't like this track. I think this track is incredibly overrated. I don't like it. And it's not climbing high at all. Mount Wario is a giant snowy mountain. The first area is so bland to look at. The cave has nothing interesting in it. The Wario Dam is okay. It's just an anti-gravity section with booster pads on the water that are streaming downwards. The forest is just a forest. The ski area is by and far the best part of this track, and you have to get through 2/3 of this track just to reach that point. The ending of this track is okay. The ending of the track is where all the activity is. If they had made more of this track like the ending, maybe this would have been better. Maybe if they had worked with the Wario theme a little bit more, this track could have been better. If this music wasn't the worst track in the entire game, maybe this would have been a little better. In fact, if they just made this track better, it would have been better. I hate this track. I'm not slamming it as low as cheap. No, I am. This is an E rank track. I'm going to be 100% honest. It's E. It's not ranking below Cheep Cheep Lagoon, but I don't... No. Yeah, no, I'm going to do it. Anyway, let me just finish. No, I don't really know what else there is to say about this track, and I feel like I just want to keep this simple and to the point, because I feel like I'm already treading on very dangerous territory by just saying Mount Wario sucks. But the only cool thing about this track is its temperature. And that's probably below freezing. Otherwise, this track just sucks. This is the only track in the history of Mario Kart that has actively made me just turn off the game because it showed up during a versus race. I will say that's only been once, but in all of the times I've played Mario Kart, when I've played versus races, usually if I quit mid-versus, it's because I have something else to do. This situation that I remember, I had something to do, but I had the time to finish all the races. I think I got about halfway into 8 races. I saw Mount Wario and I was just like, nope, I don't want to play this track, and I'm not going to play it just to finish this up. I'm turning it off. Yep, controversial. Roast me if you want. Second least favorite. This is ranking right behind the Koopa Beaches, and I'm not afraid to say that. Come at me with what you think about that, but this is my personal ranking. I hate Mount Wario, and I'm slamming it in E right at the bottom. Alright, enough about that. Cloud Top Cruise. Better Sky Garden? Worse Sky Garden? What version of Sky Garden are we talking about? Technically speaking, the Cloud Top Cruise also shares its Japanese name with Sky Garden. I can't imagine why. No, I don't see it at all. Okay, jokes aside, yeah, like literally this is just Sky Garden 2.0. You're racing on a beanstalk, racing on the clouds, racing into airships, racing into a thunderstorm. You know, for the sky, gotta say, a lot going on up here. Here I thought the sky was nothing but clouds and sky. But no, lightning, airships, beanstalks. Yeah, not bad. Definitely comparable to Sky Garden. Its Japanese name is Sky Garden, so yeah, you could say this is just Sky Garden, but better. And while that's not incorrect, for me it's not correct. I guess it's really in between. It's not as good as OG and DS GBA Sky Garden, but it's better than Tour and 8 Deluxe Sky Garden. Somehow, we've got 2 different Sky Gardens, and they're really just one big track. Definitely a B+ track. Yeah, right below Frappe Snowland. Mario Circuit 2 might be cheesing the system here for what it is, but I think I like Cloud Top Cruise more than I like Waluigi Pinball, but definitely not as much as I love Frappe. I'm talking so much praise about Luigi Raceway. How is it below Waluigi Pinball again? Was I being generous? I probably was. I'll keep it that way for now. Alright, Bone Dry Dunes. The desert of the game. I mean, as much as I love deserts, I hate to say it doesn't do anything creative with the desert theming. I kind of hate how Nintendo's go-to with deserts is to not do anything with them. I mean, it's not always the case. Desert Hills at least had the Super Mario Bros. 3 theme going for it. Wow, that really is it. Oh, Calamari Desert's good for the train and the canyons. Like, even my favorite Dry Ruins in Yoshi Desert, they don't do anything with the desert theming. They're just big yellow tracks of sand. The Yoshi Sphinx saves those two. Anyway, Bone Dry Dunes is probably like another one of my favorite tracks in the entire game. I love the music. I love the theming. I do love my desert tracks. Am I gonna feel guilty for putting this? This probably is my second favorite, if not third. It says a lot about this game if my 3 favorite, like my first favorite, I guess I will 100% justify and defend. That's a pretty worthy S-rank track if you ask me. But Bone Dry Dunes being my third favorite means that either I have a horrible taste in Mario Kart tracks, or Mario Kart 8 just somehow didn't run as far as it could have with its power. Which is weird because all of these tracks 100% run far with their power. They just somehow don't strike any notes with me. And this was even before the age killed most of them. Bone Dry Dunes has the giant dry Bowser cave opening, which is cool. The gliding section leading into the cave was always finicky. I didn't know how to get onto that giant wooden banister at the top. Not that it really mattered if you ever got up there. That turn right into the cave was just evil. That's a sharp one. You're gonna hit the off-road real easy on that one. Otherwise, there are some bone piranha plants littered around the track. They're not that hard to avoid. The anti-gravity split path leads to a large ribcage-looking road. Or you could take the long way, which has no anti-gravity. I don't know why you would. But I guess you could also say this is the other one that could really easily come back if they wanted it to. The ship sailing in the sand where the toads toss coins at you. Don't ask me how it's sailing in the sand. I guess that's just really liquidy sand. It's gotta be some sort of quicksand. Well, I think it's obvious that it is. I find it weird that out of all the games that have, like, all the games, I have the least amount to say about Mario Kart 8 of all things. Bone Dry Dunes is, I think, either gonna be... Yeah... I have to be generous, bottom of S. It's one of my favorite 8 Deluxe game, or 8 tracks. And the fact that I'm saying that is really proving that I have really horrible opinions on Mario Kart 8. Dude, what am I doing? Alright. Wii U Bowser's Castle. This one is the only one that I say has a shot at beating N64 Bowser's Castle. But I'm gonna be real, its age is the reason it's not. Granted, it's still the best Bowser's Castle ever. Bowser's Castle on N64 only wins because of my nostalgia factor and the fact that I value the ominous, creepy vibe more than the general intimidating vibe. But this Bowser's Castle really embodies Bowser's Castle. It feels like you're actually going into the castle itself. It feels like you're hitting up right where Bowser does all his work. Like, where his armies are, where all the airships are. Like, this is the work zone of Bowser's Castle. This is where Bowser is shouting at his minions. And it's really good. There's the giant Bowser statue in the off-road section that punches the road and makes it ripple, which is really cool. You glide out to the back area where there are a few rocks to dodge. You go through an area with swinging ball and chains, fire bars. It's overall one hell of a Bowser's Castle, and the music really sells Bowser's new metal theme going for him. Or rock theme, whichever one he prefers. But I think we're gonna go right ahead, and I'm gonna easily say that if this is not S rank, no, I don't think I want to put it in S rank. I do think I want to put it in A, and I think I'll rank it above Grumble Volcano. I think Calamari Desert earns its spot leading the pack in A. And yeah, I guess I have ranked GCN Bowser's Castle above this one too. But again, I think the ominous vibe that I get hits better than the intimidation vibe. Also, Bowser Castle 3 just has the best improvements, so let's ignore that. Alright, time to move on to Wii U's Rainbow Road. By the way, if this recording bit sounds different than the rest of it all, that's because I'm re-recording the Rainbow Road section. So, maybe if you don't remember, every single Rainbow Road up to this point seems to have a pretty good track record going for it. You know, ranking in at least A or higher. In fact, all but one are S-rank tracks in my opinion, so there's a pretty high bar here. That bar is so high, Wii U's Rainbow Road ain't getting anywhere close to touching it. That bar is so high, Wii U's Rainbow Road can walk under it. So yeah, that might, you know, give a little bit of insight on what I think about this track. To put it bluntly, I really don't like it. I think the biggest issue with Wii U's Rainbow Road is the mechanical machine-like road that really takes a lot of the whimsy of a Rainbow Road away. I think praise where praise is due. I really do like the space station feel that this track has, but not actually being a rainbow is what irks me the most because, well, this just feels like a really big disappointment. Like every other Rainbow Road has this mystical whimsy theme to it where it actually feels like you're driving on a rainbow, and I feel like that's what makes Rainbow Road so awesome to begin with. And when you take all that away, it just feels like, well, it just loses a lot of that magic. And I know growing up is kind of like that, but keep in mind that the 3DS version released in 2011, and that one still had a more whimsical Rainbow Road. Come on, like, Wii U's Rainbow Road, like, didn't really have much of an excuse for this. And that's, like, again, just the biggest disappointment, in that it just takes away everything lovable about Rainbow Road in favor of this more mechanical feel. Like, I just don't really like the vibe, and it doesn't resonate with me. The music's not all that great either. I feel like it also doesn't really capture the Rainbow Road vibes. But other than that, like, the layout's okay. I will admit that the track itself isn't that bad. It's just how they handled the theming was the big issue. This is kind of what I think. It's like a bit of a loose connection, but Rainbow Road on the Wii U feels like a very sterile modernization of the idea that I don't think really needed it. I feel like it should have kept the idea of actually driving on a rainbow road, not a road lit up to look like a rainbow. There's a difference, and trust me, I can tell. I didn't ask to ride on a machine, I asked to ride on a rainbow. I don't think that's asking too much. D. I ain't never slammed a Rainbow Road this low. At least Bowser's Castle. Bowser Castle 2 at least. No, you know what? There is no reason why Bowser Castle 2 is ranking above Wii U Rainbow Road. It's not that Bowser Castle 2 is better. It's that Wii U Rainbow Road just sucks that much. I don't think I've ever had to slam a Rainbow Road this low, but you know what? First time for everything, and it earned it. Alright, Excite Bike Arena. Let me open with the fact that the crossover tracks are not my favorite. I know I have opened with this one on the Woohoo tracks, but Mario Kart 8 is when we really start diving into those. I think Excite Bike Arena is the below average. It nails its theming. I guess that's another ranking point, is how well these tracks nail their theming. I'm going to say that those have a contribution, but they're not going to affect my ranking. But Excite Bike Arena nails its theming. My biggest problem with Excite Bike Arena is what it is. Do you remember Baby Park? Well, Excite Bike Arena is just Baby Park but bigger. It's an oval. It's an oval with jumps, and it's a longer oval, but it's an oval. And now I understand why. Excite Bike never really was anything other than a giant straight line with jumps and stuff. But that's not really appealing in my eyes. It's simplistic for people who don't play Mario Kart enough, and that's good for them. But for me, this track is just boring, and it doesn't even have the same appeal as Baby Park. Because Baby Park's smaller size made item chaos its strongest feature. This game not only doesn't have the smaller size, it doesn't have multiple appearances where some appearances were better than others, and it doesn't have the item chaos. It just has the jumps, and arguably the jumps kind of just slow you down. I don't really care about this track, and all things considered, it's just an oval with jumps. And if Baby Park is also just an oval that has better strengths, well, you can imagine that Excite Bike Arena can't beat Baby Park. And if Baby Park's C-, well then where the hell is Excite Bike Arena going? It's going at the bottom of C-. I can't say I want to put it in D because a lot of my... Well, this is unfair to say, but a lot of my friends like this track. They played it a lot. Top of D. I don't care for this track either. I just don't. It's not a bad track. It embodies its reference. It's simple. Do I care about it? No, and I'm kind of glad that it was just DLC. But we're gonna stop there. Alright, Dragon Driftway. Best DLC course. Definitely my favorite. I love that Gobblegut is used as the inspiration for this track. It's a giant, windy dragon road and I love that. It's got it's behind Mario Circuit as the best use of anti-gravity in this entire game. Easily. No doubt about it. It's twisty. You go upside down on a few jumps. You go right side up. You go like right all along. Like it's so hard to describe. The anti-gravity is just really perfect. I'd almost wait. Like if it wasn't for the clever use of a Mobius strip on Mario Circuit, this probably would be the best use of anti-gravity. It's just slightly losing out for unknown reasons. Honestly, I think no. You know what? It's just the fact that the Mobius strip was kind of a little cooler, but Dragon Driftway is a little easier to mentally grasp in that it's just a really twisty, windy dragon that suits Gobblegut so well because Gobblegut was a giant, massive, twisty dragon. Play Super Mario Galaxy 2. Gobblegut was one of the best bosses in the game. He literally was able to snake around the tiny planet that you were on. Not a single time you couldn't see that dragon flying above you. So cool. That being said, translating a really cool boss into this track really did well. So I think, when I really consider it, 100% Dragon Driftway is an A-rank track, and I'm going to put this above Bowser's Castle. This is easily one of my favorite Wii U tracks. Probably my fourth. You know what? Yeah, canonically or realistically, it is my fourth favorite Wii U track. Because, like, it's just so cool. And it took DLC for that. I feel like actually I might need to re-rank Bowser's Castle because when I look at like Airship Fortress, Sunset, ranking this one above Bowser's Castle for Wii. I kind of do like these ones better. Even Grumble, I think I even might. Yeah, I think Grumble Volcano also needs to drop down here. Because when I think about it, Airship's cool, Sunset Wilds is cool, Bowser Castle 4 is cool, Cheeseland is cool. Yeah, I gotta put these two downward. But Dragon Driftway, 100% I think it earns its spot here. Mute City, another crossover track. Out of every crossover track that we have, Woohoo Loop, the Woohoo tracks, the Animal Crossing, Excite Bike, Hyrule, the Mute City, the F-Zero is the best theme. It is the biggest middle finger to F-Zero I have ever seen. I have never seen such a great idea that's easily and clearly trying to cater to some group of people be so disrespectful. And I 100% know this was not done to be disrespectful. Mario Kart 8 has more content, F-Zero content, than... Okay, well, no. Obviously, it doesn't have more F-Zero content than an actual F-Zero game, but Mario Kart 8 got more F-Zero attention than the franchise did. Bro, I don't think anybody was asking for you to reference a racing game in Mario Kart 8 that people have been really wanting to come back. I think people want a new F-Zero game. They don't want to see F-Zero in their Mario Kart. And while I think that the reason why they put these tracks is because they don't want F-Zero competing with their precious Mario Kart. Because they're going to lose. I can't speak for the F-Zero fan community because I'm not a part of it. I haven't played F-Zero a lot. The most I've played is F-Zero on the SNES and F-Zero on the N64. And even that, it was like 1 cup each. But from looking in, I can't tell if this is throwing the F-Zero community a golden bone or just flipping them off. Mute City is definitely one of the better crossover tracks. It's definitely got a really cool, twisty layout that I enjoy. I don't really like the jazzy take they did on Mute City or Big Blue. The music was... I feel like the music should have been a little bit more rock-themed as opposed to jazz. And that basically is saying that jazz is not really my thing. Barry B, get out of here. I know, I don't like jazz. But Mute City, if you take away the music and the jazzy theme and just focus on the fact that it's a crossover track, yeah, I don't really care that it's a crossover track, but it's definitely probably the best crossover track there is. So where did I put Woohoo Loop? C+? I think what I'll do is I will rank F-Zero's Mute City above Water Park. I don't really say I want it to beat these tracks. In fact, I still have to question why I put Wario Stadium this high. Wario Stadium can go with Wario's Gold Mine. I don't know how it got to the top of C+. But, yeah. Mute City is the best crossover track, but the fact that it's in C+, again, is meant to dictate that the crossover tracks were not my thing. Alright, Ice Ice Outpost. I'll talk about this track in just a second. You're the second worst track in this entire list. Easily. Ice Ice Outpost sucks. I don't exactly know how in a game that has this beautiful candy-themed kingdom, the best Bowser's Castle money could buy, and a neon disco nightclub, how can you have a game with tracks like those and still make the Antarctic look boring? What is this track? And this is DLC. I paid for this as extra content? If I thought Mount Wario was bad for being a base game track, I feel insulted that I paid money to add this to my game. Ice Ice Outpost is the most boring theme, boringly executed, terrible music. The best part of this track was its anti-gravity, and that lasted maybe 5 seconds. This track is hot garbage that is enough to melt these polar ice caps. Jeez. You can tell that my Mario Kart 8 opinions are not that great because I've gotten into more flaring negative emotion about these tracks than I have in the entire franchise. No other track has ever ignited my sheer distaste than Rainbow Road, Mount Wario, and Ice Ice Outpost. You'd probably be wondering, if I'm getting this overworked about these 3 tracks, how are they not the bottom? The only reason is because maybe when I first started, I was being a little bit more fair with the Koopa Beach tracks in that they have a better reason for ranking low in that they're just nothing to look at, and yeah, unfairly speaking, they're SNES tracks. Daisy Hills does not rank below Rainbow Road. Screw you, Rainbow Road. I don't even know how... Oh, wait. Yeah, the layout was the only thing that saved this one. These E-rank tracks don't, in my opinion, don't have enough to save them. Cheap Cheap Lagoon sucks on all fronts. Ice Ice Outpost has, like, no redeeming qualities. I personally don't like Mount Wario. Koopa Beach 1 and 2's E-ranking are the fairest E-ranks I have to give them. And, like, honestly, I'm beginning to think that maybe I'm treating these ones unfairly. But, no, their redeeming qualities aren't enough either. Ice Ice Outpost is terrible. I'm sorry, again, don't let my flaring negative opinions get ahead of themselves. Look, I'm trying to be respectful here. I know Ice Ice Outpost has its fans. I know Mount Wario has its fans. It's literally everyone who's not me. But this is my list, and I am going to be honest on my terms. I hate all of these tracks. Ice Ice Outpost sucks, and I'm sorry to anybody who likes this track, but it's got no favor for me. Moving on to Hyrule Circuit. My mixed history with Legend of Zelda is kind of going to be a reason why I don't know where this one's going to go. Don't get me wrong, I don't dislike Legend of Zelda. I don't think it's a game series for me. I played Wind Waker, I played Ocarina of Time. Ocarina of Time was, if you want my opinions on that one, go watch our 3 Dorks playthrough. I played through this entire game blind, didn't know what I was doing. Well, I wouldn't say blind, but it was my first time ever playing Ocarina of Time. It was hard, crazy, frustrating, but still fun. Wind Waker is definitely my favorite Zelda game out of the ones I've actually played and finished extensively. Unfortunately, Hyrule Circuit does not take any notes out of Wind Waker. I'd say it more or less takes out of Ocarina of Time, which is not the worst thing it could have done. like, honestly, the Legend of Zelda just isn't a franchise for me, and knowing that, it means that I just don't care about Hyrule Circuit because it's coming from a franchise that just I don't care about. And honestly, I've never even been a huge fan of this track as a whole. It's got a dumb off-kill or like just useless anti-gravity zone, if you could even call it that. It doesn't even go anywhere. It's literally as flat straight. They only made this anti-gravity for the little puzzle where if you hit all the spin boosters, you open up a ramp that lets you hit the Master Sword. That's the only reason why this track has anti-gravity. If you take that away, it's good. You've got nothing to worry about. It's got a lot of Zelda references. The coins are now rupees. There are soldiers as spectators. The piranha plants and the swoopers are replaced by 2 Zelda enemies that I'm not going to try to butcher the names to. Again, like the other crossover tracks, it does very well with its source material. However, I don't care about it that much. I'm going to rank it in C-. Below Baby Park. Again, my toxic Wii U opinions are not great, but Baby Park is better, especially when you factor in all of its confusing lore and all the things I've said about it. Let's move on to Wild Woods. We've got like 4 more tracks to cover, and my voice is starting to die after Rainbow Road, Mount Wario, and Ice Ice Outpost. So Wild Woods is 100% one of the best layouts and best layouts in the game. This is one of those cases where I'm 100% not letting this hold it back, but I don't like the music to this track at all, and that's one of the reasons why I don't like it, but I'm not going to let that stand in the way, because Wild Woods is an amazing track in of itself. Its music could have been better, and it really discourages you from being in first place, because when those front-running beats start, oh my goodness, this music is unbearable to listen to. But having a treetop village of Shy Guys racing up the tree and then down a water slide into a small little pond, and then just jumping right back up that tree and racing along its branches, bro, this is amazing. This is a thrill ride in a forest, and I absolutely love it. This almost feels like it's a better Zelda theme. It's not Zelda themed, and I don't know how accurate that is, but Wild Woods is great. And I'm going to put it in the B+ for that. Let's see, I honestly think Wild Woods, I'm going to put it above Toad's Factory. Toad's Factory is great, don't get me wrong. But Wild Woods, when you ignore the music, is a thrill ride of a track. And I absolutely love it. So, earned its spot up here. Let's go, B+. Not afraid of that one. Alright, Animal Crossing. This has absolutely no emotion behind it. I don't really care about Animal Crossing. I don't care to get interested in it. The genre of the game style is not my thing. I'm not really into that kind of life simulator kind of game. Also, being the only human in a village full of anthropomorphic animals? Not my style either. And don't get me wrong, I have nothing against Animal Crossing as a whole. It's just not my cup of tea. The 4 seasons idea of Animal Crossing is definitely the coolest thing. And the one thing that did resonate with me a little bit is that the layout of the track vaguely resembles a very simpler look of N64 Rainbow Road. You can kind of draw some similarities. The long straightaway, I don't think it loops at the top, but there's also just look at the layout. You could see a similar shape. Obviously, N64 Rainbow Road is a lot more loopy. There's the circular loop at the right side of the track, left side of the track. There's the loop at the top. The bottom has a lot more looping sections. The giant U-turn at the bottom corner is something you will definitely be able to notice as a similarity. All right. Look, I'm going to be 100% honest. I don't care for Animal Crossing that much. But the fact that it's entirely on neutral ground for me means that I don't want to rank it in C-. I don't care for this track at all. But I think C is fair, especially considering I've been really harsh on a few of these tracks. So my lack of exposure to Animal Crossing and completely ignoring the annoyance that my brother brings in Smash Brothers when he plays as Villager, I think putting it at the bottom of C is fair by my standards, because at the end of the day, I don't really care for this track. I almost said didn't like, but no, I'm gonna say I don't care about this track. This is a track I don't dislike, I don't like, and I just barely have an opinion on. So I think bottom of C is as fair as I'm gonna go. Alright, Super Bell Subway. This track did nothing wrong, and I don't have much of an opinion on this one either. It's a subway complex, which is really cool. You're racing alongside a bunch of subways in an underground tunnel. There's a lot of graffiti on the walls, which is cool. But then you've got the metro section outside of the tunnels, which honestly does remind me a little bit of Union Station in Toronto, despite the fact that that's a train station, not a subway station. But I think that kind of vibe also just kind of rings with me a little bit when I really think about it. The track itself doesn't do anything for me. It's actually, I will say the layout's interesting, but overall the track doesn't do too much for me. And yeah, that's actually all I can really say. Honestly, it's the Wii U is like a no in-between between flaring up my greatest emotions and me just having absolutely nothing to say about these tracks. So I think this is also just going to be a C rank track. We're going to keep it simple. Yeah, I'm ranking this one above Animal Crossing. It's also kind of an opinionless track. And when I think about all these other ones, yeah, I kind of like them all a little better. So. And finally, we're going to end off with Big Blue. Big Blue is as big and F-Zero-y as Mute City. The difference is that this one's a point A to point B track. Which is another thing I forgot to mention about Mount Wario, is that I hate those kinds of tracks. Now we're not going to jump to that conclusion. This is not going to get the same treatment as Mount Wario did. Far from it. If anything, this is probably going to be another one of the higher ranking ones. I don't really care for the point A to point B style, but again, the F-Zero theming was pretty cool. I don't really know what Big Blue in of itself looks like, but I guess this would probably be the template if they ever modernized it. Lots of floating lush green zones, a lot of water, and I guess that I can expect from a course with the word big and blue in it. It's not exactly what we call the oceans. But Big Blue is also a relatively twisty track, not exactly 200cc friendly. I do appreciate a lot of the anti-gravity. In fact, I think this is, like Mute City, this one's entirely an anti-gravity. Ends going straight up. Lot of, a few upside down sections where the water is above you, which is really cool. Some split paths. The water slide section is really cool because you can jump off the track and even cut some of it while you're in the air. Wouldn't recommend, you're not as fast in the air. When I really think about it, Big Blue does do a lot of interesting things, and that's very noteworthy. Again, the crossover theme isn't my favorite, but I think what we're going to do is we're going to tie this one up with Mute City. I'm going to put it just below it because these two feel like they're a real package deal. So C+ I think is fair enough for them. And I think that'll do it for this one. Mario Kart 8 definitely was all over the place. But as you can see, a lot of them did not resonate with me. I'd say that Mario Kart 8 probably has the weakest lineup of Nitro tracks in my personal opinion. And that is probably heavily insulting considering Super Mario Kart exists. But I give that game a little bit of a pass for being the first game. That being said, we have one game left to cover, and that is Tour. And, of course, the Tour one's going to be interesting because, well, I have to sort out all these icons. And I have a lot of stuff to mention because, obviously speaking, I treat these three as the Sky High Sunday, Yoshi's Island, and Squeaky Clean Sprint. I've said this many times, they are Tour tracks to me. That's why I'm not ranking them right now. But yeah, I also have to add a few track icons and all that, but Tour's the last one. I hope you guys are enjoying this. I hope you guys will all tune in to Tour as the finale. I know Tour is not a popular game, but it's mainline, and I've played it, so it's counting. So, I hope you guys all enjoyed, and I will see you all in the finale of this ranking video or series. So, peace out.